So, Hangman and Page versus Jon Moxley, the American Ace, fought in a brutal Texas death match, emphasis on the word death match. And they don't do the this is the thing I found out when I was watching the Deonna Purrazzo match and Mickie James match, if I recall correctly, is that apparently Texas Deathmatch is different from the Last Man Standing match. Mainly that there are pinfalls involved or submissions, then you do the 10 count, which is like, what? Like, just from that viewpoint alone, it's like that just sounds redundant. But okay, that's the thing apparently. Like every time when I saw Texas Deathmatch in New Japan or AEW, they treated it like it was a last man standing match. Just they call it a Texas Deathmatch. So yeah, that was the first I heard the actual rules what a Texas Deathmatch is. Otherwise, it's just the ultra violent version of a last man standing match, which sounds a lot better. But Jon Moxley and Hangman and Page. All this started because of a simple miscommunication moment with a clothesline. That was back in October. We are in March. And we are getting the culmination of this multi-layer rivalry that started from a clothesline botch and Hangman wanting revenge on Jon Moxley for taking his pride away. And by pride, I mean the memory that he knew his son. They knew his kids. That was dark when I heard that. I was like, wow, if that's actually true, then I'm pretty certain we're fucked. I'm pretty sure Jon Moxley just chose death. Because when you take away a guy's memory, like, that's my kid, it's like, or that he remembers, it's like, oh, well, he's about to be as pissed off as Captain America was when he remembered, oh yeah, the Illuminati erased my memory and blew up worlds. Yeah. So anyways, because AEW had such an excellent card and an excellent show, even with matches that probably shouldn't have been on the card, yet they were still okay and too great at best, I'm just gonna keep saying this. After the Iron Man match, turns out, this is a brief tangent, apparently now people are trying to downplay the Iron Man match, saying it had no story. And I was like, did everyone just forget what happened after Full Gear? Like, it technically started after Full Gear, and by technicality speaking, it began when Bryan had to witness his mentor, father figure, get beaten down by MJF after he betrayed everything he stood for MJF, only to be retconned and revealed that he did this as a last lesson to the Blackpool Combat Club. Which, okay, fine, gives him a graceful exit and leaves on good terms that if he ever comes back, then Blackpool Combat Club will a little be hesitant to take him back, but, you know, give a storyline for him. But moving on from that, I had heard that people were saying, oh, this is just a great match, but there's no story. There's no story before this. And I would like to continuously point out to the screaming of the void that this story began after Full Gear, and more specifically, 2 weeks after Full Gear. One could also make the argument it began the week after Full Gear, where, Jon Moxley had to be talked down from Bryan from, beating the holy hell out of his mentor. Bad. So, yeah, and I had some discussions with people on Twitter about this, like, oh, goddammit, Saya. And they just point out that this is probably because how WWE has indoctrinated people into thinking that WWE's way is the only way forward. And I even said this multiple times before in the last year. For 20 years, WWE was all they knew, and WWE's marketing propaganda and revisionist history and documentaries led to this idea that WWE's way is the only way to make it. Things like AEW go against that unchecked reality, so tribalists and so-called journalists if they want to go ahead and make statements that make no sense. Like, if you don't like the match, that's perfectly fine, but saying there's no story involved, it's like, did everyone just forget? Like, there was a 5-minute promo recapping everything that happened. There was a multi-paragraph article about it, about all the storylines, and they even acknowledged this whole thing started out when Real and Regal was taken off the board. So what's the argument here? And so Travelers can't help but defend and fight it, or in Vince's case, they'll defend him because goddamn, everyone hates the idea that Vince is a bad person. But enough about my tangent and whatnot. Let's get back to Hangman and Jon Moxley. I wanted to talk about this thing after I had heard all this happen after I published that last episode video of ENRE the WrestleVerse about the Iron Man match. Then I start hearing debates it was better than HBK and Bret Hart's match, and it's like, okay, you can go either way with that. I just looked at it for its own merits, and it was crisp. Pro wrestling personified. But yeah, Texas Deathmatch, Jon Moxley and Hangman. Oh god, Mox, I know you like to do it. In fact, you probably will be doing it again soon. But can you stop bleeding so much? Like, I get it's your motif, it's a comfort zone for you. I am questioning how that was even humanly possible, but I get that's your comfort zone in storytelling. Like how Stephen King likes to have most of his books take place in Maine, because that was a thing for a while. And Moxley has that kind of same cliche, like every minute in a match he starts bleeding profusely, and there's only like a couple times he doesn't bleed, which actually surprises everybody. Like, he didn't bleed when he fought Punk in what could be Punk's last match, unless things work out, and everything seems to be indicating that it might be working out, especially when FTR came back and they did this whole Live in Color shirt announcement on AEWshop.com, and it's like, oh boy, so subtle. Live in Color, cult of personality, yeah. But moving on from that, Moxley bleeds a lot in wrestling. In fact, someone even joked that Peter Avalon could beat him in a first blood match within 13 seconds. Which is probably accurate. He is the American Ace, and he will damn well put people over when needed. But I want to say after this match, he's going to take a vacation. He's going to get his long delayed vacation that was supposed to happen back in August and September. In fact, he was even out of contract at the time, and then AEW renewed it, and then he and AEW came to an agreement, and Mox cemented his loyalty to the AEW company and brand, so whoopee. Yeah, and now here's Hangman, who was kind of lost in the shuffle for a little bit after the Punk debacle. And no, not because of the conspiracy that happened that came out afterwards, that Dave Meltzer himself had to come out and say, no, that's not true. I mean, like, I knew the rumors about the Elite spreading misinformation wasn't true. I just decided not to say anything to Tony Khan and pick up the phone, or Punk, or the Elite, and say, hey, can you clarify this to the people, or do I have to clarify it? And then we got all that brawl out, when in reality, it was turned out that this could have been prevented if Dave Meltzer just simply picked up the phone. Or, you know, Tony Khan could have done his job and dispelled all this, because he then confirmed it months later after everything had went down. Yay. So, yeah. All that. And now Hangman wants revenge on Jon Moxley and has become an embittered feud with each other. And Texas Deathmatch was their ruling because, you know, Hangman needs to have everything end in a Texas Deathmatch. In fact, he's become a purveyor of hardcore wrestling lately, since his world title reign started even. And freaking god. They had everything added to this. Violence, forks, mostly forks, barbed wire steel chairs, chains. And I'm pretty sure Wardlow is thinking, damn, I knew I forgot something in bed. Because he came out and said that recently, and I'm still trying to wonder how Bryan Danielson has not started a feud with him over who's the horniest wrestler in AEW. And like, if we add Big E to the equation, then that would be the ultra violence of horniness. Moving on from my obsession in clarifying that a bunch of wrestlers lately have been extremely horny, given what happened in 2020, now all of a sudden they start coming out with their horny ways and sick fetishes. But Jon Moxley and his blood issue, I would say this is the last time that he'll be on vacation after this. It's not. He's probably not going to be on AEW television. But there is one other problem. You see, he has a commitment with GCW's Bloodsport event at the end of March to early April. Okay. So yeah, so even when AEW tried to tell him, John, you have done enough for us. Go on vacation, be with your wife, we'll take her off TV too. Renee Paquette, you've done so much for us, it's time for a vacation. And Moxley, stop pissing her off, probably to the point that she's going to make you sleep on the couch. And Jon Moxley's like, that's a good point. Fuck that. And decide to continue the ways of disappointing his wife in terms of not doing the vacation they had planned months back. Oh god, imagine if this was the anniversary of their wedding, then that would be even worse. Then Moxley would be screwed. In more ways than one, probably, in his eyes. So, yeah. Hangman took on Jon Moxley in Texas Deathmatch Wrestling. And yeah, it was pretty damn good. Pretty freaking brutal at times. Especially with the clawing, the tearing of the skin, the human flesh being pounded away, blood profusely bleeding until MJF bled out of all of them because he is a gusher in wrestling now. And if he signs with WWE, then he can't do that anymore unless they do blood capsules. But there is one thing I liked. I like how they did keep that there is a submission rule in this, and not it's either submission or last man standing rules. That makes it stand out a little bit more than what Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo did, which confused me to no end. Despite it being a good match, it was just like, why are there pinfalls in this? I thought the rules were pretty clear to me, and then I found out that's the actual rules. But Moxley decided to tap out after Hangman started choking the life out of him with chains. And like I said, Wardlow is probably thinking something. So, yeah. So, Blackpool Combat Club had a pretty bad night. Bryan lost, Moxley lost, they both tapped out, surrendered. Bryan probably worse so because MJF used his own finisher against him, whereas Moxley succumbed to the chains. The chains! And you just gotta admire the chutzpah of everybody involved in those two matches. Hangman was damn good. Like I said, I'm hoping that after this he feuds with MJF next and revisits what could have been with MJF and Hangman as the Double or Nothing main event. I'm hoping at least, because then that would be very poetic. Because this whole thing technically started for MJF and Hangman all the way back at Double or Nothing during the title belt presentation from Bret Hart. I wonder if they'll mention him. Besides, referencing all the Hitman's iconic moments last year. Yeah, they probably will, especially with FTR back. But, yeah, this was if the Iron Man match didn't happen, this would have been the main event and the best match of the night, especially when Brian was saying, look, can we have this match open the show? No. Like, this would have been the main event most likely if Brian and MJF were allowed to open the show like Brian had proposed, because he was high on drugs that night when he thought of that idea a few nights prior. But, yeah. Mox, look, I know you probably don't watch these content on YouTube. Tony Khan mostly does. Damn it, Tony, pay me or give me credit. I'm not stopping on this, and oh god. This all happened because of AEW, and we were talking about the structure of the company in some ways. John, just, you have rightfully earned your vacation, probably more so. And like, you probably already got a raise, so that's pretty creditable, probably. Take your break, man. You have rightfully deserved a break after all this extensive wrestling and punishment you put yourself through. You've earned it, man. You've earned it. And I look forward to when you come back and finish everything up and continue your legacy in AEW. But man, you rightfully earned a break. Hangman, props to your hardcore wrestling fiber of your being, the purveyor of Texas wrestling. Yeah, let's go with that. If Jon Moxley is the purveyor of violence and the American Ace, and then Hangman is the purveyor of Texas Deathmatch. Now I certainly want to see Hangman and GCW to do that. That'd be kind of awesome. Kind of would give GCW their biggest paycheck yet, outside of Jon Moxley. But yeah, props to the 4 men involved in that night. We'll be talking more about other matches on the card that I was interested in, and oh goddamn, this is fun. This was fun. This was your host, Eric Brown of Neo Reality Entertainment, NRE The WrestleVerse. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out our content in the description below. Stay tuned for more. And Hangman, you did this for your kid. By God, you've earned everyone's respect. Though I also do want to point out that, yeah, I like how this was not a face versus heel, or heel versus heel, or face versus face. It's just a father who lost the memory of his child for a brief time, and a guy who's the American Ace of violence. And it's just like, I don't care. I'm Jon Moxley, damn it. I'm like if Stone Cold was in AEW, but I'm not the level of, and no, I'm not saying he's at the Stone Cold level of popularity. I'm like, he's pretty damn popular, but let's be real, he's not Stone Cold. I'm making a comparison on that point, that Jon Moxley's just that big of a character in terms of his personality. But so before I get torn apart by people on Twitter for saying such slanderous statements, I'll see y'all again next time. Take care, everybody. Have a good day, and oh damn, this is gonna be something. Peace.